People who work in the P industry, editors, cameramen, women, office assistants etc. What everyday work challenges, peculiar to your industry, do you face? I write P for a living. I get an unusual amount of letters from people in prison, and most of my fan correspondence, not just from prison, is just thinly veiled attempts at sexting. Not entirely P industry, but I'm in the furry community here. I draw NSW stuff for money. Furries will pay a ton of money to have their fursona drawn with extreme proportions, multiple limbs, etc. I've been an artist for as long as I can remember. I draw many things outside of the furry fandom. I enjoy drawing all sorts of things, not just NSW furry stuff. What's most frustrating is that this isn't what I want to be known for. I want folks to look at my art and say, it's beautiful, not WTF did you draw Pikachu with blimp-sized boobs and 4 dongs as big as school buses. It's strange because I've never had anyone interested in the art I make outside NSW stuff. Nobody would pay a single penny for the things I've done that aren't NSW or furry related. But the moment I draw a gender bender version of Bowser, the cash comes flying in. It's sort of a not very good feeling. Like, I'm glad I'm getting money, a good deal of it too, but I'm just not happy with what needs to be done to get it. Does this make any sense? A friend of mine used to write adult films as his side hustle. Math was the hardest part. What would happen was that the studio would come up with a title. They'd have a number of sets available, a given number of male actors and a given number of female actors. The writer was given all this information and had to come up with a storyline that used all the sets, and also included all the different combinations of men and women. Because you can't have the same 2 people get together twice in the same film. People tend to fast forward through a coupling that they've already watched, so it all came down to complicated combinatorics to get it all to work together. I do not currently work in the industry, nor can I say that I was actually involved in it to a strong degree, but I used to do audio work for someone who did. I frequently had to replace fire engine or police sirens or other extraneous sounds in the audio with appropriate sounding moans or sex noises when the location recording picked up stuff from outside the building. You would be surprised at how many times a moan can be copy pasted and sound legitimate. I remember the looped audio from Girls Gone Wild. Every couple of minutes, same voice, she's 18, I think. Used to manage a P-shop with a video arcade in the back. Our main clientele was 35-60-year-old gay men, nearly all closeted with families that I'd see on the weekends at the local mall. The instant they saw me, they'd rush their families out of whatever store I walked into. These buttholes would literally drag their wives out like they were trying to kidnap them, their children too. Then, these classless fricks would come in and ask, screaming at me, to not tell their families. Like, guy, you pay my salary every week alone watching minute-long clips and sucking Dave's dong. You make sure I have a roof over my head. Why the frick would I out you? I used to work customer service for an erotic mail order company. Sex toys, dolls, P videos, P magazines, sex lingerie and dresses etc. A lot of people thought we were a pink funnel line. It was the 80s, you heard them wank. Scary was some people find out the address. Arriving there wanting to see the model of the catalog, they tried to break in. Arriving there wanting to see the model of the catalog. Okay, super weird. They tried to break in. Okay, what the frick? Used to work law enforcement. Quit the police force because I didn't like the way things were being handled at a higher level, and I now work as a contractor for P sites. I filter through the uploaded videos to ensure there's no CP, hidden videos, pictures and videos, surprise gore, etc. Delete gore and other random videos, like the Super Bowl halftime show. CP gets forwarded to the proper authorities, alongside any info we have on the uploader's account. I hate it at times, but at least some good comes of it. Pays better and the job is safer. I'm hoping to make a career of it because honestly, P isn't going anywhere. Also, my predecessor, a person who had a monopoly on the filtering P videos industry, turned out to be a pedophile. He was arrested and his team disbanded, which is why a law enforcement background was helpful in starting me on this path. It's just safer for everyone. I've met a dude in Japan whose job consisted in pixelating the genitals. It was a pretty good gig according to him, nothing to complain about. Now that's what I call a donglicker. I have a cousin who used to work in post-production editing. She only quit because the hours were long and it was taking a toll on her health. She's still friends with a lot of them to this day. Some tidbits she told me. Most of them do it to fund college. The freakier the scene, the more they get paid. Girl on girl scenes pay the least. There's a ton of money in the cam industry. I very briefly worked part-time as a personal assistant to a guy who, among other ventures, co-runs a fairly popular studio. In my experience, while you might sort of work the periphery of the client's financial dealings, managing appointments, fielding business-related calls, it's not really expected or usual that your duties would include taking an active role in their business. But within a week of being hired, he made it clear there would be a considerable bonus in it for me if I was willing to appear in some of his videos. Thanks, but no thanks. I guess I had it easy. I did editing and visual effects. My main problems were people giving me a ton of footage, not using a slate, having the actors ad-lib so much I couldn't always figure out what went where. Oh, and missing clean plates, missing background shots and such. Basically my issues were it was rapidly shot stuff by people who weren't professions and would forget steps that are important later. The challenge: avoid fluids and poo. The reality: you cannot avoid the fluids and poo. Michael Vegas here, trying to build enough connection with a new sex partner to make everything flow well during the shoot. Racism: I don't face it directly as a white guy, but it is rampant in this business. Makeup sponges replace tampons when shooting. Sodong abrasions from fricking a latex brick. Fluffers are not real and there is a lot of stop-start during shoots. Squirting is mostly pee and some people do not hydrate well. Trying to keep a straight face when unexpected smelly pee hits you is terrible. Trying to make sure my agent is not going behind my back and ripping me off by charging a production fee and collecting money I never see. Currently happening. Huge amounts of homophobia from the old guard and P. Company owners and directors mostly. There is no union. I frequently am stuck on set for a long time with no increase in pay for my time that was wasted. FSC lying about STI testing practices. Having a cameraman super close to me is not a problem. Having a camera guy on set talking about how he wishes he was fricking and making the female scene partner uncomfortable is unprofessional and annoying. Frequent lack of food or terrible no craft service. This is just a start. This is a job first and foremost. Even with all that going on, it is still my favorite job I have ever had. I just wish a union would be formed to help combat the same crap that happens in the mainstream entertainment industry. Not necessarily P industry, but I worked for a publishing company that did adult books. We were working on a book of 101 sex positions. The publisher wanted 101. The salespeople said that worked best, and we booked the models for 101 photos. Dear God, we were reaching by the end. There are not that many ways to position the human body and have the genitals line up to anything worthwhile. I'm confused. I know, like 4 maybe 5 ways of making things line up. The others must be impractical, or require a combination of skinniness and flexibility found only in yoga gurus. Maybe you should listen to Butterfly Effect. It's a bit more broad but still in the same topic. One thing that surprised me was that male P actors will use P to keep their penis erect during takes. I used to work for Team Skeet in the office, editing photos, updating the websites, tube sites, etc. My everyday challenge was to write the corniest story description I could think of. Being a cameraman in the P industry is insane and it takes an insane person to do it. I'm from Miami and had a friend in college who did a few videos. I hung out with him and the camera guy one night. They did a shoot earlier that day. The people holding the camera usually have money in the production. Sometimes they even own the channel company. They're the director plus cinematographer. This guy who I met was the kind of guy who made you nervous to be around. I always felt like he was on the verge of committing a violent crime, but was also trying to have fun constantly. We were all doing drugs and drinking and he of course did the most. They talked about the shoot the whole time and the camera guy was viciously insulting the girl they worked with. He even talked about other girls and was super mean. I sat back and watched and listened. My friend said the whole act of shooting P is fine and he felt he was great at it, but the camera guy just gets too close. He has to, I know, but I think it's why my friend didn't continue doing videos. The dude just weirded him out. If the cameraman doesn't say obnoxious mean crap the whole time, are they even shooting a porno? I've heard pee sets often have a pretty overwhelming odor. Smells like sweat, baby wipes and skeet with undertones of aged strawberry lube and notes of cotton candy body spray. Lots of girls join the industry to support a drug habit, so dealing with that can be a hassle, especially when everyone around you enables it. Not naming any names, but an A-list porn star offered me drugs years ago. You used to see it all the time, but thankfully it's not as common anymore, but it does still happen. I think with how big and accessible the industry has gotten, a lot of smart girls are using pee to make some decent money independently. Just avoid toxic people and it can be a lucrative career. There's 2 documentaries called After Pee Ends and After Pee Ends 2 that include interviews from many different former adult film stars. Some made enough money and lived responsibly enough to retire comfortably. Others, like Chasey Lane, aren't doing so well. Sort of a fascinating look at the ups and downs of the industry. There's more cum in my workspace than in previous jobs I've had. Clearly you've never worked at a Joann's Fabrics. I work on the IT side part-time. Getting talent paid is a part of my job. Payment process that is processed and refunded. So much credit card fraud that it baffles me. It's a mess and a real headache. You wanted pee and paid for it, no one cares. But you want the charges reversed. Bitcoin is literally worlds easier to deal with than credit cards. In 1997 my dad worked at a pee video store where you rent movies for an hour in little cubicles alone doing God knows what. His job was to clean the cubicles. He was also in the Navy during this time. He saw semen in both jobs. So, I don't know how much has changed in recent years, but I've had friends who have done QA for pee websites, and these sites have user submitted content. What I heard back in the day is some of these QA people would be tasked with monitoring and flagging illegal user submitted content. I cannot fathom sitting at a computer for 8 hours monitoring pee submitted by people and having to see snuff films, bestiality, and child pee. Like, it's great to know that someone is there flagging these submissions and IPs, and that it sometimes leads to arrests, but it must have a toll mentally on the monitoring QA person. I worked for a small, local pee company for about 3 years. I handled a lot of the paperwork, the 2,257 info, writing paychecks, booking hotel rooms, etc. I would also hold a camera during the live shoot, help the models, go to the store if we forgot something, crap like that. There were only about 4-5 of us working at a time, 2 holding handheld cameras, 1 being the director, the others checking the lights, the static cameras, and monitors. A couple of things. The smell. The set always smells like a weird blend of latex and lube, mixed with the food from the craft services table. The more people you're filming, the harder it is to keep to a timeline. It's oftentimes like trying to herd cats to get everyone on set at the same time. Of course, as soon as they eventually arrive, something will happen to the cameras, or the lights. There is a lot of hurry up and wait. Filming pee is really quite remarkably unerotic. I actually almost fell asleep once while filming. Now mind you, the models we were filming were extraordinarily boring for some reason, and I started nodding off. I've found there are 2 types of models. Women that are extremely smart, using the industry to further their career aspirations, even meeting women going for their PhDs. The others, let's just say I've handled rocks that had more brains. There doesn't seem to be a lot of in between. Also, very, very rarely does someone come on screen without help. There is normally a cut, with the guy jerking himself pretty hard, then it cuts back to the money shot. Only very rarely was a man able to achieve orgasm without jerking off first. As far as the story of the guy getting a mouthful on accident, I had no doubt that was a setup. You never film that close, as most cameras can zoom pretty dang good without putting yourself in the splash zone. It's the part about the craft services table smell mixing with the other smells that got me. Lunch meat, lube, beauty equals smell nightmares. I talked to a lighting guy in Los Angeles who said that he also worked on pee shoots. I asked him, so, when a person delivers pizza all day, everything smells like pizza, their car smells like pizza, their clothes smell like pizza. He cut me off and said yes. You go home every night to your wife and kids smelling like sex, like other people's sex. You have been visited by the high bandwidth husky. You will be blessed with fast browsing speeds and wide internet tubes, but only if you comment load fast. Papa, if you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.